Mais bonjour tout le monde. Good afternoon. Je vais d'abord faire une déclaration en anglais et puis je vais faire la même déclaration en français. I want to spend a few minutes explaining why Canadians should consider supporting the People's Party of Canada in the coming election. The past year and a half has been one of the most disastrous periods in recent Canadian history. From the very beginning of the pandemic, the Trudeau government has been erratic, inconsistent, and irresponsible. We all remember when one week masks were useless, then the next they should be mandated everywhere. One week it was racist to suggest that we stop flights from China, and the next week we canceled flights from all countries. It quickly became apparent in the spring 2020 that older people with comorbidities were the ones most at risk from the virus, especially those living in nursing homes. As I kept saying at that time, we should have targeted all our efforts at protecting them. The federal government, which coordinates the pandemic for the whole country, should have led this effort. Instead, incompetent provincial governments, especially Quebec and Ontario, let them die by the thousands. With support from Ottawa, they decided to impose destructive lockdown measures that many scientific studies have shown to be totally ineffective at preventing the spread of the virus. Everything else that has happened since is the consequence of these early choices. These lockdowns will have killed a lot more people than they have presumably saved because of drug overdoses, suicide, anxiety and depression, domestic violence, postponed surgeries, and as well as job and business losses. These lockdowns have destroyed large parts of our economy, especially small businesses. Trudeau used these lockdowns as a justification to launch a whole series of spending programs that we cannot afford, pushing our national debt to unprecedented levels. They sent checks to senior citizens this summer. They extended the wage subsidy program another month until right after the election day. It has nothing to do with supporting the economy and everything to do with buying votes. It will take years to bring back sound public finances. The money printers have kicked into high gear, and ordinary Canadians are paying the price now. The government can deny it all they want, but we have all seen inflation in basic necessities like food. Justin Trudeau does not care about fundamental rights and freedoms, democracy, and basic ethics. He has used taxpayers' money to help his friends' cronies, as we saw in the We Charity and SNC Lavalin scandals. During the past year and a half, he has ignored and bypassed Parliament. He has paid off the media. He wants to censor the internet. He wants to force all government employees and federal regulated workers to take the vaccine. He wants to prevent non-vaccinated Canadians from traveling by air or train. He is working with provinces to develop a vaccine passport that will create two kinds of citizens, some with more rights than others. Under this government, we are witnessing the most sustained, unprecedented series of frontal attacks against our prosperity, our rights, and freedoms in our lifetime. And it has all happened in less than 18 months. What will happen in another 18 months? We went from 2 weeks to flatten the curve to a segregated society in the blink of an eye. Mr. Trudeau, who openly admires the Chinese dictatorship, is a threat to Canada, to our way of life. But what are the alternatives? They are as bad or even worse. Why is Mr. Trudeau calling an election today, when he has been able to do whatever he wanted with a minority government? The ridiculous ads put out by the Conservative Party get it right. Trudeau wants a majority. He may get it if the polls are right. What the Conservatives don't say is that it's their fault. The worst government in decades is only matched by the worst official opposition in decades. Despite facing a minority government undermined by scandals, irresponsible management of public finances, and clear authoritarianism, the official opposition under Erin O'Toole has shown itself to be totally ineffective and cowardly. O'Toole was elected leader by pretending to be a true blue conservative, but his mask quickly fell. He's just another lying, pandering, fake conservative who agrees with Trudeau on almost everything. Like Trudeau, he supports lockdowns and vaccine passports. He fired his Yukon candidate this week because he publicly opposes vaccine passports. Like Trudeau, he supports mass immigration. O'Toole betrayed his previous commitment to oppose a carbon tax, and now, like Trudeau, he wants to impose one and supports the Paris Accord. Like Trudeau, he wants to take a decade or longer to balance the budget. Like Trudeau, he panders to every interest group and plays identity politics all the time. Like Trudeau, he doesn't want to reform and scale down the equalization program. Like Trudeau, he supports Ottawa's intrusion into provincial jurisdiction. The Conservative Party of Canada is conservative in name only. Under O'Toole, it has become just another left-of-center party and betrayed its conservative supporters. I have never been so convinced that I made the right decision when I left it to create the People's Party of Canada. The Conservative Party was, and it remains, morally and intellectually corrupt. What about the other options? The NDP is a far-left socialist party that promises to destroy our economy even faster than the Liberals. Maxime praised the mass murder communist dictator Fidel Castro when he died. For years, he associated with Khalistani terrorist sympathizers. Why should we trust a dangerous fanatic like him? The Green Party is torn between a fraction that wants to destroy the modern industrial world and bring us back to the Stone Age, and another one that is obsessed with Israel. Its own leader says these people in her own party are racist, sexist, and anti-Semitic. Of course, the Bloc Québécois only wants to extort more money for Quebec and is irrelevant for the rest of the country. They don't want to work with other Canadians. So, why should Canadians consider voting for the People's Party of Canada? It's simple. All the other options suck. It's time to choose something different. The People's Party has opposed authoritarian lockdown measures from the very beginning of the pandemic. We are the only party with a realistic approach and recognize that we must learn to live with this virus, not destroy our society and economy in a vain attempt to eliminate it. We are the only party that puts our rights and freedoms front and center. If the PPC did not exist, nobody would speak out against lockdowns and vaccine passport, mass immigration, online censorship, climate alarmism, carbon taxes, unfair equalization, debt and inflation, identity politics, globalism, and respect of our Constitution. Canada needs our voice. Over the next few weeks, we will campaign on the same program we campaigned on 2 years ago, with some updates that we will announce during this campaign. Our platform is based on clear and unchanging principles: individual freedom, personal responsibility, respect, and fairness. It puts Canadians first. Today, I'm asking Canadian voters to look at all the options. You have a good reason to be fed up with establishment politicians. The People's Party is doing politics differently. It is time to vote for your values. It is time to vote for the People's Party of Canada.
Your first question is coming from the line of John Paul Tasker. Your line is open.
Hi, Mr. Bernier. JP Tasker here from CBC News. I believe you said you won't get a COVID-19 vaccine, so I have some sense of what you'll say to this, but I want to get your reaction to the government's plan to make the shot mandatory for all federal public servants and travelers on planes and trains. Experts say we need more vaccine coverage to beat back the fourth wave of this thing. The Conservative leader, Erin O'Toole, hasn't taken a particularly strong position on this. So tell me, why are you opposed to requiring some folks get a shot?
But first of all, it's immoral, unconstitutional, and illegal. We must not force people to take the vaccine. We believe in the freedom of choice. Everybody must be free to decide if they want the vaccine or not with informed consent. That's the position of the People's Party of Canada, and we will fight against these draconian measures. We believe that we must not be a society where there's two kinds of citizens, like I said in my speech, and we must respect the individual freedom and the personal responsibility of every Canadian. I don't want a society that is like a show-me-your-papers society, and that will be like that. We'll have two classes of citizens, and some of them will have more rights and others won't. So we are the only, you're right to say that the Conservative Party is not opposed to that. We are the only federal national political party that is against that.
A number of the other parties are demanding their candidates be vaccinated. The Conservative Party is requiring some of their campaign staff get a shot before they go out on the trail to protect themselves and the public. What sort of public health precautions will you or your party be taking in this campaign as we're grappling with the fourth wave of this pandemic?
But first, like I said, we believe in freedom of choice, so our candidates are free to decide if they want the vaccine or not. And if you look at the recent study, if you have the vaccine, you can also spread the virus. And if you don't have the vaccine, you can spread the virus. So for me, there's no difference. Yes, if you have the vaccine, you will have mild symptoms and your risk to die are very, very low. But that must be a personal choice, and I understand that if you have the vaccine, you can have COVID-19, and there's a chance that you can also spread it. So that's why we want to promote freedom of choice in Canada.
Andrew Justin Trudeau has clearly anticipated that Canadians are on side with a lot of these public health measures. He's gone into an election days after imposing a vaccine mandate for public servants, for those traveling by rail or on planes. If Justin Trudeau and the Liberals win, does that say that the values you've been advocating are actually not in sync with where Canadians are?
No, what I'm saying, I hope that the question will be when Canadians will go and be ready to vote. I hope that the question they will ask themselves, what was the result of the management of the pandemic from the federal government? If is that the question, they will support us, because we since the beginning of that pandemic we were very clear. Every business is essential. Churches must be reopened. No to a vaccine passport. So I hope that if that's the most important question for them, I believe that he won't be able to have a majority.
In 2019, you participated in the Leaders Debates Commission debate. This year, the criteria involve a number of measures that you don't qualify for. The one that you could be, as if you are polling at 4%. There's a way to get into the debate. Are you confident that under those rules you can be in the debate? And if not, what's your plan to reach voters?
I'm confident that I will be in the debate because I'm looking all across the country, and the People's Party on average is around 4%. In some polling we are at 3, other at 5. So on average, I believe that we'll be able to have achieved that target for us. And I believe maybe actually we may be at 4%. So for me, I'm pretty sure that I will be at this debate. And that will be important for Canadians because, like I said in my speech, I will be the only leader that will ask the real questions and the only leader that has a very different opinion on a lot of important policies for the future of our country. The equalization formula, it must be less generous. We must change the formula, saying no to the Paris Accord, and also saying no to these draconian lockdowns and vaccine passport and mandatory vaccinated people to be able to travel in this country. We are saying no to all that. So that would be a clear choice, and that's why it's important for us to be on the stage.
We have a question coming from the line of Stephanie Taylor. Your line is open.
Hi, Mr. Bernier. Thanks so much for taking my question. Stephanie Taylor with the Canadian Press. In the 2019 election, you lost your seat by more than 6,000 votes. The party got less than 2% of the vote. So this time around, how do you expect people to actually take your party seriously as an option to consider?
First of all, we are a real national political party. We created that party, you're right, 3 years ago, and we did better than the Green Party of Canada. It took 20 years and 6 elections for the Green Party of Canada to have more than 1.6% of the vote. We did that our first year. And yes, you're right to say that we are doing politics differently. We don't do politics based on survey and polling. We are doing politics based on principles and conviction. And the platform of this year will be the same one that we ran on the last election, and it will be the same one in 2025. So that's why we are the only political party that is speaking about important and bold reforms that we must do in this country for having a smaller government in Ottawa and more freedom. So I believe now, if you look at the polls, we are around 4, 5, 6% all across the country. So this party is growing, and I can tell you that some of our candidates will be elected, and that will be important because we will have a freedom voice in Parliament, and we will use all the tools that we can have, having a couple of seats in Parliament, to question the government and to be sure that we will speak about the real debates. Climate alarmism, these draconian COVID-19 measures, and now the vaccine passport that they want to impose in Quebec and maybe in other provinces, and the fact that you won't be able to travel in Canada if you don't have the 2 doses, shots of the vaccine. So that must change. We are not in a communist country and asking every Canadian to show their papers if they want to travel. We are against that. We believe in freedom. We believe in Canadians. And I believe that, this party is growing, and this election will be another important one for us.
Thank you. I know earlier to another question you expressed confidence that you would meet the criteria to be in a federal leaders debate, but on the event that that doesn't happen, perhaps you are not at the polling levels which you believe that you are. Would you be prepared to go to court, or what action would you be prepared to take to get into that leaders debate if you do not meet that criteria for polling?
Thanks for asking. I'm a realistic and optimistic politician, and I believe that we'll have that 4%. Yes, I said the question was about the Maverick Party. If the Maverick Party is a huge competitor to us? My answer is they are a competitor, but I want to be very clear. If you look at the platform of the Maverick Party of Canada, they have a two-track solutions. The first one is a Triple-E Senate, and the second one is the independence. So I'm saying to people that are separatists in Alberta, don't waste your time with the Maverick Party. The Maverick Party wants to be like the Bloc Québécois. The Bloc Québécois did nothing to promote the independence in Quebec. It was the PQ. They were the official opposition in 1970, in government in 1976, and after that, the first referendum. So the Bloc Québécois did nothing to promote the independence. But the Maverick Party, on their platform, they want a Triple-E Senate. A Triple-E Senate won't solve everything. First of all, it won't happen because you need to reopen the Constitution. Second, if you have a Triple-E Senate, that means that the Atlantic provinces will have 40% of the seats, and you had Quebec and Manitoba. 60% of the seats will be that will go to have-not provinces. So you will build a big new Senate organization, a new institution in Ottawa with more power, and your chance is that new Senate will always ask for more money, more equalization money. And also, don't forget, in Alberta, they elected an NDP government, so they can have also a socialist and NDP elected at the Senate. So it's not the best. It is not a solution for you, a Triple-E Senate. It won't solve anything, and actually it will be worse because you'll give power to have-not provinces with 60% of the seat. So that being said, if you want a real discussion about the real issues that you have, we are the only national political party that is answering your needs. What it is? The equalization formula, less generous and a fair formula. I'm saying that in English and in French, and I'm promoting that. It's important. It's important for the unity of our country and the prosperity of our country. And it's a shame that I'm the only leader that is speaking about that. The conservative, the liberal won't say that. When you have 30% of the population in Alberta that are separatists, they don't want to answer that need that is very important. The equalization, we are there. On the pipelines, we are there. We will use the Constitution, Section 9210, to be sure that we'll be able to build pipelines in this country. Actually, we use the Constitution since Confederation more than 100 times. We use that Section 9210 more than 100 times to build national infrastructure since Confederation. We must use it right now to build pipeline in this country. That's a firm proposal, and also the Paris Accord. We are the only one against the Paris Accord. We won't impose a carbon tax. We won't impose more regulations on businesses to fight climate change. So on all these issues are important for people in Western Canada, but also for people in Eastern Canada. So I'm saying to people who think that it must be good to vote for Maverick, if you are a real independentist, you may vote for the Independentist Party at the provincial level, like Quebecers did, and you'll have a debate at that end. But, if you're a federalist person, you believe in this country, we have the best platform for you. And if you're an independentist, don't waste your time with the Maverick. Vote for us because you are still in this country, and we have the best platform. And help us to promote our ideas. Help us. We need a voice in Ottawa. Only one voice in Ottawa, and we'll bring this debate alive. That's important.
We have a question coming from the line of John Paul Tasker. Your line is open.
I was going to ask you about the Maverick Party, but you just covered it. But I will ask you another question. You called Erin O'Toole a liberal light conservative leader. I think you recently tweeted that voting for Mr. O'Toole will just lead to the less dominance in Canadian politics. A lot of your social media activities directed at Mr. O'Toole. Even today, you directed some attacks at the Tory leader. is it fair to say he's really your main opponent in this election campaign? It's really not the Prime Minister, but Erin O'Toole?
You know, it's the CON Party, like I said. All these leftists, like Erin O'Toole, and the Liberals and the NDP and the Green, are my opponents. And I'm ready because they are the same on the most important issues for this country, for the future of this country. Our country will be bankrupt and will have a divided society with everything that is happening right now. Speak about the reaction on COVID-19, the impose on the vaccine passport. So Erin O'Toole, like I said in my speech, lied to conservative supporters, and he had a blue mask during his campaign for the leadership of the Conservative Party of Canada. But now we know the real Erin O'Toole. That was the one that was running against me in 2017. He was a real red Tory, and now he's worse than that. He's a leftist with socialist ideas. And you know, when you don't allow your candidates in Yukon to run under the Conservative Party of Canada because that person is for freedom of choice. Freedom of choice. Freedom is the basics of our society, and you said no to that. So for me, yes, Erin O'Toole and Justin Trudeau and the NDP are my opponents, and we have a lot of support that are coming from former NDP because they are saying the country is not going in the right direction. They believe in individual freedom and personal responsibility, and for them it's most important than anything. That's why some of them will support us. But I must admit that we have a lot of support that is coming from former conservative. And they are telling me, Maxime, I don't want to vote for Erin O'Toole because he won't win. And actually, Erin O'Toole said that in their first ad. If you look at the first ad, they're saying that Trudeau will have a majority. So Trudeau and the conservative supporters are saying to me, Erin O'Toole won't win, I won't waste my vote, so I will vote for you. You're the only real conservative party in this country. So that's why I believe this election will be a big surprise for all the leftists in Canada.